Ladies, gentlemen, and each one of you, as we get going to start, I request you all to please feel free and comfy and grab yourself a drink, and post which we set ourselves for something new, a new chapter altogether, the monster transformation. So I request you all to please feel free and grab a drink at the pre-function area, and then come back inside with a drink in your hand, and probably we can have a happy vibe rolling out together for a very interesting evening ahead of you. Thank you.
We're all set? Check, check.
Ladies, gentlemen, and each one of you, I request you all to please take your seats now as we proceed towards the start of the evening. Please make sure you maintain the house rule. The first and very important, please make sure your mobile phones are strictly on silent mode at all times. And if you're at the pre-function and I'm audible to you, I request you all to please join us inside now and take your seats. Thank you. Quite an evening, isn't it? People in the phones with smiles, some distracted, some are here, some want to be here, and some are everywhere. But certainly, I've got your attention now. May I request you all to please give yourself a loudest round of applause just to make me feel good about the fact that, yes, I have an audience and a warm exchange of smiles. That does the magic, right? After all, it does. So, what are we here for? Before I kind of tell you what are we here for, you have to really understand a little short story of where it all started from in India. About a decade back, when the recession hit India and mostly across the world, if you're a small town, for example, if you're in Jamshedpur and you have an interview happening in Bangalore, you have traveled all the way from Tata Nagar to Bangalore by multiples of options. Either you fly, and that is via Kolkata to Bangalore, or you take a train and come to Yashwantpur and then come to Bangalore for an interview. In that situation, if a family cannot afford tickets to travel, because it's a process of 3 days by train, going and coming, and of course there's food involved, there is much more to stay involved. So how did the person really survive, or the family really survive? Then came in, ta-da, something that gave a feel-good factor. Something that gave bread and butter to families. Being in the hometown in Jamshedpur or Rourkela or Bhubaneswar or Calicut or even the different parts of India, and that one story of example was possible with a brand called Monster.com. Do you agree? If you do agree, how about you give a loudest round of applause, because I know I just got you with this one. Making dreams come true for professionals and much more. Now, today, we are evolving. So is every individual is evolving. From point to point, everything is evolving around you. There was a time you would go to a grocery shop to buy a grocery, but today you get at home. It is important that you evolve with the situation, the time, and of course, the scenarios cross. So, with having people such as you, the wonderful people who have seen the past, who knows the present, and clearly has a vision for the future, we have some wonderful people here among the ladies, gentlemen, and each one of you. May I please request you all to volunteer and stand up wherever you are. It's very simple. If you're sitting like this, you just need to rise. Absolutely. Now, what I really want you all to do is, because we have such wonderful people, and we're here for a reason, right? To secure a future-ready India. But how? By the means of exchanging energies among one to another. So I will take some time out and request you all to go around the next 30 seconds and give a fist bump to anybody you see next to you and around the ballroom and exchange a smile. That warmth will bring about an energy in this ballroom of something really positive. So if you're ready, smile in 3, 2, 1. Let's move around. Let's give a little fist bump to anybody and everybody possible. That's the way we do it. That's the way we connect to each and every way possible here. And that is the idea to be here right now, because this is what we do it. 20 more seconds to go. Transformation of energy is very important. And exactly what we're doing. I love this feel-good factor. Everybody is everywhere, and after all, we're doing so. Look at the smile we're exchanging. We're coming together for something so good, and of course, a notch higher experience for India, future ready, in 10, in 9, in 8, in 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. A loudest round of applause, and welcome to the Monster Transformation. I thank you all for joining us on a midweek Wednesday here in Bengaluru with a wonderful, wonderful weather. As always, it's raining. All right. Thank you for joining us today. So, let's first welcome the trio who's going to add on the feel-good factor and give you a little cover up in the future and what are we here for tonight. So please welcome first, who is also a keynote speaker, is going to be the chairman of Aaron Capital and Manipal Global Education, Mr. Mohan Das Pai is with us right now. Just wave your hands, sir, right now. Of course, now that he's on audio on stage, first person, I also want you to give a loudest round of applause and please give a hello to him, the founder and chairman of the Quest Corp Limited, Mr. Ajit Isaac with us right now as well. And joining the two is somebody who's been here and who's seen the entire thing today, the entire day, is the CEO of Monster Asia Pacific and Middle East, is Mr. Shekhar Garisa with us right now. Thank you so much, two gentlemen. And now the gentleman is already on stage. Before he starts talking, a little about him. Because today we are among the best, and because he is our keynote speaker, it's very important to get a little heads up about this gentleman who looks so simple, and trust me, he believes that life is simple, we just make it complicated. So who is he? Well, you got the name right now. Someone who has led multiple industries ranging from traditional trucking to IT to one of the most active investment organization with an extensive body of work in non-profit as well as the policy making. He's also the Padma Shri awardee and former CFO and board member of Infosys. Come on, a loudest round of applause.
He's also the co-founder of the Akshay Patra, the world's largest midday meal program, and he also served as the chairman of the board of SEBI and is now a board member of the National Stock Exchange in India. He also emerged as one of the India's most prolific angel investors. Please give a loudest round of applause once again for the one and only Mr. Mohan Das Pai with us right now, Chairman, Aryan Capital and Manipal Global Education. Sir, it's an honor to have you here with us, and now over to you. Thank you.
Folks, thank you very much. It's been a long time since I was introduced in Bangalore. I'm born here a long time ago. Thank you very much. Today is a very exciting day for Monster and Foundit and Ajit and Shekhar and everybody. And we are here for a very specific purpose. But let me talk about the big picture. India is doing extremely well globally. We just crossed $3.15 trillion in GDP. And we are the 5th largest economy in the world. By 2026, we'll cross $5 trillion with a 90% probability. And by 2032, we could be $10 trillion. We are $10 trillion right now in terms of PPP, which measures what a certain amount of currency can buy in terms of goods. We are the 3rd largest economy in PPP after China, which is the largest at 30 trillion, United States at 23, 24, and then India. But when you walk around Bangalore, you don't see this kind of big economy like you see in China. Our infrastructure has to improve. We got a small traffic problem in Bangalore because with 11 million people, we have 10 million vehicles, 6.5 million two-wheelers, right? And we know what prosperity does to a city. Bangalore's per capita income is $11,000. India is around $2,400. Now, how did we come up to this space? Why were we not better like China? In 1950, we were the richest economy in Asia because China was destroyed in the war. There was a civil war for a long time. Japan was destroyed. Southeast Asia was destroyed. And India had 2 million troops in the Second World War. And we had 1.5 billion pounds due to us by Great Britain for the war efforts. 3 of the 5 richest families in Asia were in India. I think they were in Mumbai, maybe one of them in Calcutta. So at that point of time, we got a constitution in 1950, and we made a very strategic error. We shut shop to the private sector and suppressed private capital. We were enamored of socialism, Fabian socialism, and that hurt us very badly. But in 1950 and 1980, we grew at 3.5% a year, Asia grew at 6.5% a year, and the world grew at 4.5% a year. We were poorer in 1980 than we were in 1950, primarily because we suppressed private capital. And throughout history, India has been a very large, rich economy. In the 1750s, China, India made up 45% of world GDP. We are a riverine civilization, and we had highly skilled people. We traded, exported, and we were known as the Sone ki Chidiya. I mean, that's what locals told. The whole world came here, many to trade, many to conquer. 1980, we opened up a little bit. We grew at 5.5% a year, 80 to 90. Debt grew from 20 billion to 80 billion. Population grew at 2.25%. And the first 30 years, per capita income grew at only 1% a year. Now, I was born late in 58. I grew up during the 60s and 70s. And life was quite okay. We had bicycles. Bangalore is a nice place. We played cricket in the streets. We went to the library. Excitement was going to Lakeview and eating ice cream on MG Road. Small pleasures of life. And petrol was 53 liters for a full tank of SD. A morning movie was 3.5 rupees. And we are okay. We didn't have high aspirations. We opened up in 91 because we are broke. We had dollars for only 15 days of imports. And then India took off. Our GDP has gone up from 275 billion in 1992 March to 1991 March to something like 3.15 trillion in 22 March, a growth of 8.2% a year in dollar terms every year for 31 years, and GDP went up from 5,72,000 crores to 236 lakh crores from 91 to 2022, a growth of 13.2% in rupee terms. This is unbelievable. So are we going to make 5 trillion by 26? Yeah, 90%. And you're going to make it. all of you, working hard, 24/7, keeping aside something that many of you practice called work-life balance. Ask Ajit, he's an entrepreneur. He built many companies, sold many companies. Hopefully you are a billionaire now, right Ajit? You should be. If you're not, please work harder. And ask him, what is this work-life balance? He'll say, work is my life. And you too, Shekhar, you got to build this company, right, Shekhar? So, people, we got an exciting future ahead of us. The world GDP is 92 trillion, and this decade, we're going to see the transfer of economic growth from the OECD to the emerging markets. And this is going to be truly transformational, and we're going to have geopolitical impact because of all this. Now, if you look at India and the jobs market, we see some very unique things happening. 42% of our workforce depends on agriculture, which is 15% of GDP, growing at 3%. And I think about 27% of workforce depends on industry, which is growing at maybe 78%, and services are growing at 10%. So people in agriculture get about 70,000 rupees, industry 1,65,000 and 2,25,000 for services. In Karnataka is 90,000, 2,50,000 and 4,50,000 because of Bangalore. So we have to see a shift for people from agriculture to industry and services in this country. 15 years back, people in agriculture were 60%. They're coming down by 1% a year. And COVID, it went up by 2 to 3%. Hopefully in the next few years, we're going to see this transformation. Population growth has stabilized in India, and you'll be very happy to know that we have 1,020 women per 1,000 men in this country. Women live longer. Women live up to 69 or something, and men up to 67. So please be careful. In China, in Japan, women live up to 88, men up to 85. And all around the world, women are going to dominate the next 20 years, which will hopefully make the world a much better place. We've seen what men do when they fight wars and conflict and all that, and women will be more peaceful. So we're seeing social transformation on an unprecedented scale. In the United States, 56% of graduates are now women. In India, in 1920, there were more women graduates as a percentage than men. And that's going to accelerate, and we're going to see this shift. We have, as per Ajit, 535 million people odd in the workforce today. And the workforce defined as between 16 to 60, but many of them may not be there. And we've been producing 25 million babies a year for the last 30 years. And population growth round has come to 2.0 for the whole of the country last year. And we are below replacement rate. Karnataka and the southern states are 1.7, Bengal is 1.6. And incidentally, the Jain community fertility is only 1.2. In 50, 70 years, you may not have many Jains left. So if you have a lot of Jain friends, please keep talking to them to keep in touch. Even the Sikhs are not doing some things they ought to do to keep the population intact. So we have this social transformation all across this country, which we have to be aware of. Now, out of this workforce, we are seeing a shift from agriculture to other areas. Now, what about the job situation in this country? Are we producing jobs? We hear reports of jobless growth. There cannot be jobless growth when it grows 7-8%, because productivity cannot increase by 7-8%. The best data for jobs is the EPFO data, which has been coming out monthly for 40 months. It says 9 lakh people registered for EPFO every single month. And maybe this year it will be 1.1 crore people. And about 13-14 lakhs are in the EPFO incremental list every month because people leave the jobs, etc. And if you take the ESI, that again is about 4 to 5 lakhs a month. So between 40 months back and now, about 5.7 crore people have joined EPFO new. So today, we have 3 crore people employed by the central government and the state governments and the universities paid by our taxes. So a lot of people are employed by the taxes we pay. And maybe in the EPFO and other places, maybe 8 crore people. There could be 11, 12 crore people, 110, 120 billion people in the entire formal workforce, right? So, if you look at income tax data, about 8 crore people file returns, maybe 7 crore people have something called income from salaries. So the entire thing ties up. There's a shift towards social security and formalization in this country, but jobs are being created. So formal jobs are being created, and if you look at other kind of jobs, there are some proxies for that. For example, we sell something like 800,000, 8 lakh LCBs, MCBs, HCBs every year. Even if you assume 25% is replacement, that is 6 lakhs. We require 2 people to drive a truck. That's 12 lakh jobs, right? And then we sell about 3.5 million cars, 35 lakh cars, assuming 500,000 required drivers, that's 5 lakhs. That's about 17 lakhs. And we sell 8 lakh tractors. So even if you take 5 lakh to be new, it is about 23 lakhs, 22, 23 lakhs in addition. Then you have professions like chartered accountants, lawyers. I think we produce about 200,000 new lawyers a year. I don't know if it's good or bad, but it's whatever it is. And 16,000 chartered accountants, some 60,000 doctors, blah, blah, blah. So the professional class is growing. So we're seeing a huge upsurge in employment. But what is happening is, if you look at the Shram portal where 30 lakh people are, not all of them get good jobs. But maybe 75-80% get jobs which are 15 to 20,000 rupees a month and not enough. So you have this kind of churning and this kind of, attrition and things in because people want more money. Living is becoming expensive. Everybody wants a car, a house, and they want to go overseas to wherever they go for a holiday. And aspirations are rising. So we're seeing this kind of attrition and churning all over. But a huge number of people are entering the workforce. Every year we graduate about 10 million, 1 crore young people. All this data is available officially and it can be verified. And out of this 1 crore graduates, large number in South India. North India has more. UP graduates 15 lakh people, I think, every year. And that is very, very huge. And we heard that women participation in the workforce is coming down. And that's because there are more women completing school and graduating in North India than South India. South India has most of the jobs. North India does not have enough jobs. Men migrate, women stay put. And when society becomes prosperous in India, women start working in the field. They stay at home and agriculture is getting mechanized. And then they don't have jobs. So we got to create jobs to get the women into the workforce in north of this country because they'll not immigrate for various reasons. If you look at Karnataka, last year we produced about 11 lakh jobs. And maybe 40-50% came from outside Karnataka because these are formal level jobs. So jobs are being created. Compensation is an issue. And this is something that has to come up over a period of time. So we've got to produce enough high quality jobs to meet the needs of people. Now, why am I saying all this? Because socially, economically, and politically, jobs are the #1 issue in any country of the world. Please remember, if there are no jobs in the United States, the president gets voted out. Biden just squeaked through, in the midterm elections for other reasons. But, jobs are extremely important in every economy. Even in India, we need jobs. But the narrative has to change that we have to produce enough high-quality jobs and not, but the jobs are being created. Now, why is Monster important? Why is foundit important? Because as the number of people come into the workforce, as the economy grows, and all of you want to hire people and train them, you need a platform, an aggregator to get people to understand where the jobs are. Because there's a discovery problem. If I'm a young person not in the IITs, in a small college, nobody is going to come and recruit me in my college, right? You're not going to go to small colleges. At Infosys, we went to 350 colleges. And we went to government colleges, got very bright people. People didn't go there, but we went there because they're all on merit. But the education was not very good, but we could train them. So you're seeing that there's a challenge of discovery, there's a challenge of aspiration, there's a challenge of mix and match. And if you're in recruitment and HR, you need to handle all this and reduce the cost to get the right person at the right salary for the right job. And that is a big challenge in HR. And for that, you need to get technology here. You need to get a platform where millions of people come, everything is put up so that individual has a choice, a way to look, what to do, use search, and all the nice things that you do on your iPhone or your mobile, and then get the jobs that you want. And people in the enterprise as recruiters are able to do all that productively. Because the biggest challenge for people, for enterprises is getting the right kind of people for the right kind of job. And the only magic that works in enterprises is getting very high quality human talent. In a very competitive economy, what is the difference between a good and a bad enterprise? It is the leadership which makes a difference and the people. And the people we know are the most important asset. Everybody says that, except they need to be treated better and possibly paid better. And I think that's a different story. But then Monster is solving this big challenge. That's why I love Monster, and we are associated with Monster. And I think Monster has now done a fabulous job by creating the platform, upgrading the platform, working in this, getting millions of people, and solving a big challenge for people like you, for enterprises, and for individuals. And that's the story which Ajit and Shekhar will talk to you about later. So, thank you very much and have fun.
Thank you so very much. Can we have a loudest round of applause once again for Mr. Mohan Das Pai, please? From one visionary to another now. Well, I would like to invite our next special speaker, a person who needs no introduction, someone who has seen it all and has been the change agent of the job and staffing industry and in India and across the world. Well, every time you board a flight through the bridge, you could see the brand, and every time you land back in Bangalore, you see the brand. And that's how I connect myself with the brand overall. Well, not only he raised the entire bar on entrepreneurship in India, he also wholeheartedly given back to the nation and society. His strong social commitment to the larger cause is demonstrated in the partnership with the Indian Institute of Science, Bangalore, to set up the ISAC Center of the Public Health called the ICPH. He also anchored the establishment of the Pediatric Specialty Center in CMC Vellore, and along with the Fairfax and Quest. For his contributions, he has been ranked the 12th most generous man in India in the Harun India Philanthropy list of 2022. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the one and only founder and chairman, Quest Corp and Monster.com, Mr. Ajit Asak on stage right now with the loudest round of applause.
Thank you very much, and a very warm welcome to all of you this evening. It's always reassuring to listen to Mohan. He has such a strong conviction about the India story. His conviction is based on facts, and it's terrific to hear about the opportunities that lie ahead of us as companies, as citizens, and for India as a whole. Mohan's association with Quest and with Monster is as an investor, and we're happy to have him join our cap table at Monster.com. So before I started off, I want to talk to you about a bit of history at Monster. Many years ago, it was founded in 1994. It was the 450th registration of a URL in the world, very early on. Those were the times when you had Yahoo, Alta Vista, Lycos, Netscape as brand names. Some of you would remember them, some of you would have used them, some of them are still around, and things have moved on in the internet space. But that's the history of the company. Monster also had a groundbreaking ad that they issued at the Super Bowl many years ago, and that set a pattern for Super Bowl-led advertising continually thereafterwards. The company came to India in 2001. Since then, it had a leadership position for a longish time, and then it gave way to others over a period, and is now in the midstream of getting back to a leadership position. Monster has also got a number of firsts to its credit. It's the first company that came out with semantic search. It's the first company that converted data to an Excel sheet and exported it. It's also the first company that held virtual job fairs that connected demand and supply. So you can see there's a rich vein of innovation in the company. It set the benchmark for new things to emerge in this space. The company now in India has about 70 million candidate profiles, and this is across 3 geographies where we have the franchise for. We have Middle East, we have Southeast Asia, and we've got India. It's got candidates from about 18 countries. Its traffic is about 15 million per month. There are 5 searches per second. So if you say 1, now there's 5 searches happening every second. And that's a sizable traffic on the site, and 60 million page views per month. Monster, therefore, has a history of developing a product, and we want to continue that through the transformation journey that we're introducing to you today. So how did we develop the new product? And how did we go about this? So I want to go back a bit in my own life. I spent my first 10 years as a human resource professional. I started off as a human resource professional on the shop floor at Godrej & Boyce in Vikhroli. We were making refrigerators. Every summer, as you would know, there are more refrigerators sold. So we needed to enhance the number of people on the line, on the conveyor that runs and manufactures refrigerators. So if we, let's say, made about 1,000 refrigerators a day in one shift, in summer we'd make about 2,000 to meet with the additional demand. And for that period, we had to recruit. We had to recruit locally. We had to recruit migrants. We had to recruit people with some level of hand skills to work on the conveyor. That was my first exposure to recruiting. And then after that, I worked in other companies in Bombay for a period of another 8 years before becoming an entrepreneur in the year 2000 to found my first company called People One Consulting, which I sold to Adecco. All through the period of being a human resource professional, I used to recruit. I used to love recruiting for many reasons. A recruiter's life is a little different. A recruiter's choice that he makes of people is driven by many dynamics. For example, when you meet a candidate, you'll see how did he make certain life choices, some critical events in his life. How did he make his judgmental calls? What is his dress style? What does he speak of his personality? What kind of bosses has he worked with which worked well? Which boss got the best out of him? What was what is the influence of his family on his life? How did they transform his ability to do well on the job? Did he come from a premier institute or not? Or did he come from a non-premier institute and still grew up the ranks and competed with the best? So there are many ways by which you judge a candidate. And a recruiter's ability to judge a good candidate is very different from us, let's say, choosing a good car to drive or a suit in a shop. There are human aspects in it. There are soft aspects, and to get to the bottom of it is a recruiter's ability. That is what Monster is trying to do, to convert that human ingenuity of recruiting into an algorithm that helps a recruiter choose the right candidates. And that process we want to call as sniper hire, that you're able to shoot once and get the right candidate and not have to spray and pray that you will get somebody in this process. When we were a recruiter, when we were recruiters in the early 90s, we'd keep databases in files. So if you had, let's say, chartered accountants, you'd have 3 files for chartered accountants. Entry-level chartered accountants, junior, middle, and senior. And in that file, you'll have folders for, let's say, audit professionals, for tax professionals, for FP&A professionals, etc. And then from that, you'll take CVs and interview them. So we had one set of database inside the company, and then you had a similar database, physical databases in those days, with consulting organizations, ABC Consulting, XYZ Consulting, etc., etc. That in the 90s got transformed into a database search process with the introduction of companies like Monster and its competition. The 90s also saw the opening up of the economy. We had critically 4 or 5 large services sectors that opened up. We had banking, financial services. We had the IT business. Infosys went public in that time. TCS was growing well. Wipro was growing well. They were recruiting by the thousands. Similarly, we had telecom licenses being issued. And we also had the retail sector opening up. All of this are people-heavy segments. People were required by the thousands. And to recruit them, you needed a huge engine. You needed momentum. You needed a large number of recruiters. With that, the recruiting industry picked up. So that was the first phase of growth. The second phase of growth of the recruiting industry came with the onset of the job boards and the portals that helped recruiters recruit. And then that phase has now lasted about 20 years. Recently, I was reading an article about private equity money and where it's going. The largest amount of money that goes into private equity, from private equity to new investments today, is in the area of fintech. An emerging second in that space is now recruitment. Why? Because one of the key problems that everybody is trying to solve is how do you find people at the right time in the right volume for companies. Like Mohan mentioned, we always say we want to treat people well. We have human resource policies. We have a beneficial attitude to recruitment all the time. But its translation to results, its translation to numbers, etc., is very difficult. There was a time in the IT industry when they said that if you walk in front of a company, you'll get hired. So you should be careful where you walk, Those times have obviously changed. So recruiting has gone from being one of the staff functions to, in my opinion, being one of the key functions inside any organization today. Quest, incidentally, has about 2,000 recruiters. We recruit across IT industry, across temp staffing, and across the gig economy. So we're able to use the recruiter's knowledge of how to recruit and transpose their ability in recruiting into the programs that that is being built at Monster with Shekhar and team. So the intelligence that we have with recruiters, we're transposing it into the product, and that's where I think you will see the new product emerging and the changes that we are bringing to play in the market. The last point I want to bring here is that previously job boards were a discovery-based effort. You know, you type something about a cost accountant in Indore, you will get a list of cost accountants in Indore. It was not, the results that you got were not personalized to your requirement. But now, as Shekhar will explain later on in the product, in a product presentation, you will see that the results that come from Monster for specific searches you do is personalized from where you're coming from the company that you work for, from the city that you are at, and from the requirements that you're putting up. So that level of personalization comes from insights that the companies, that the website is drawing from the data that's available. Those insights were what I talked about, what a recruiter used to ensure that he was successful in recruiting. So we're using the insights of a recruiter in the algorithm of the product. There are also certain shifts that's happening in the labor market, and you'd have got a sense of it from the conversation that Mohan was having earlier on. There's a movement of people from rural segments into urban areas. Bangalore today has between 11 and 13 million people, depending on the count that you take of the greater Bangalore region. When I came to Bangalore in the year 2000, the population of Bangalore was maybe around 4 million or so. Now that's gone up to about almost 13 million. So you can see the expansion of population in urban areas. Parallelly, there's also a movement from farm jobs to non-farm jobs. So if you take 530 million people who work in the workforce, and let's say 40% of them in the farm segment, the more and more people are coming out of it to come and work in non-farm areas. The third one is the movement from the informal sector to the formal sector. If you take the construction industry, there are 65 million people who work in the construction industry. Not more than 5% of the construction industry work with appointment letters. So they don't get defined, the rest of them, 95% don't get defined benefits. There's no fixed date for salary. Payments are sometimes arbitrary in nature. And of course, benefits that could come with retirement benefits, etc., are not there. So you can imagine that for a country of India's size, the informality of the workforce is a big social problem to solve. And one movement that's specifically taking place in India today, and gladly so, is the movement from the informal to the formal sector. There's also a movement of corporations, of enterprises, to use organizations like Quest, who are in the organized sector and not a player from the unorganized sector. Unorganized sector have issues with compliances, have issues with continuity, have sometimes issues with cash flows. So there is a movement of people read along with formal to the informal, unorganized to the organized. And lastly, there's a movement from permanent jobs to flexible jobs. When my dad was working, and he retired in about 1985, he's no more, but when he used to work, he worked with one company all his life. He had one boss all his life. And add to all that, he had one house, one wife, and one car. Everything was in the singular. But imagine all of us sitting in the room. Today, the average is that everybody changes between 5 and 6 jobs in a lifetime. So, you can imagine that in 30 years of, let's say, work experience, 30 to 35 years, which is the average lifespan of working life, you change about, let's say, 6 to 7 jobs, you spend an average of, let's say, 6, 7 years per job. That's how it works. So the propensity to keep changing jobs is another opportunity area for a company like Monster and Quest. Before I move on to the next one, there's one point I want to leave with you. If you reduce recruiting to 3 key issues, what would they be? That's fit, flexibility, and friction. First one, what is fit? Fit is very easy to understand. You need a cost accountant in Indore who's got, let's say, experience in the pharmaceutical segment, who knows, let's say, pharmaceutical costing, who's worked, let's say, at least about 7 or 8 years in that space, and who, has an eye for detail and an ICW degree, etc., you'd get him. That's fit. Flexibility is how you want to hire him. Do you want to hire him on a full-time basis? Do you want to hire him on a part-time basis? Do you want to hire him with his job being supervised by the company or by somebody else? And do you finally want to pay him on the basis of outputs and tasks that he would do, or do you want to pay him on a fixed basis? Lastly, the friction. Friction is a key part in this whole process. Friction is, you have to call him for an interview, you have to fix a panel, you have to interview him, you have to issue an appointment letter. 1 out of 3 people that you issue an appointment letter don't join. And then you go back to the whole starting process all over again. And then you have to do an induction, you have to do onboarding, and then after that there is training to be done. You can take all of this friction away by outsourcing this candidature to another company. So fit, flexibility, and friction are the key words in an employment process. And these are all elements that Monster and Quest together tries to solve. There are other influencing factors in employment today. One of them is the trinity of JAM that's evolved over a period of time, which is Jandan, Aadhaar, and mobility. Jandan, because of which today almost about 95% of people today have accounts, banking accounts, and the number is steadily going up. So if such a large population of people have got accounts, direct benefit transfer of their subsidies happens, salaries can go into it, and more than anything, there's accountability, there's a lack of leakage in all these transfers. The second one is Aadhaar. Everybody has a unique identity. That identity is useful in many situations. I don't have to explain that. And lastly, the expansion of bandwidths and the usage of smartphones has led to people working from homes, of being able to do pervasive computing and distributed networks, and it has been a game changer in the way organizations are run. So that's a key influencing factor. In labor, there's another factor, which is supplier states and consumer states of labor. If you take states of UP, Bihar, Chhattisgarh, Jharkhand, Orissa, West Bengal, they're all the supplier states of labor. The receiver states of labor who use labor are usually Karnataka, Tamil Nadu, Kerala, Maharashtra, and Punjab. Punjab has a large number of people that come for agricultural workforce. So there's a dichotomy. You have supply on one side, you have demand on one side, and they're in 2 different geographical areas. And you'd find ways by which you have to get them to work together. There's also the flexibility that you want with time, tasks, and outputs, as I explained. An increasingly positive factor in India is the changes in labor laws that's taking place. The labor codes that's coming, it'll bring more people from the informal sector to the formal sector. And lastly, the government's focus on infrastructure is pushing a lot of things. It's pushing downstream investment into many more areas. It's also creating employment, especially in the construction real estate space. So Monster over the years, before I conclude this, I just want to tell you what's happened over the years since we bought it. We bought Monster in 2018. We bought 100% of the company. And then the first 2 years were spent in stabilizing the company and ensuring a transition into the new ownership structure. Then COVID happened in the year 2000, and that kind of brought the whole thing to a standstill. But through the process, we hired a new leadership team. Shekhar came on board that time. We put together a new leadership structure. We began work on the new product. That product is what we're launching today. And a lot of diligent and hard work, rigor, has gone behind creating this product, and Shekhar and team, in my opinion, have done a great job in getting this together. Progressively, we also decided that we will fund the company sufficiently. We wanted to ensure that it's got enough gas in the tank for the journey that it will undertake. We raised 130 plus crores of primary capital from Volrado Capital and Meridian Ventures, both of which are long-term investors with a great track record in finding good businesses and backing them for the long term. And therefore, now we have this product launch in November of 2022. I want to finish with what is the opportunity ahead. One of the points I was discussing with Mohan just before this evening was about Indian corporates today scaling global thresholds. HDFC and HDFC Bank today, after the merger, has a market cap that's greater than Deutsche Bank and Citibank. So we have an Indian bank today that's in the global league tables. We have today Quest, which has about almost 500,000 people. When I sold my first company to Adecco, People One Consulting, the first 3 players in the staffing list had between, let's say, 450,000 people to 700,000 people. That list has not moved. The leading staffing players in India, in the world, still have between 600 to 700,000 people. In 15 years, we've grown from 0 to 500,000. We definitely have a shot at becoming the largest staffing company in the world at some point of time. India is also now has a can-do attitude, a difference that is visible in India in the global stage, in the way we play sports, in our performance at the Olympics, to also in terms of how we are looking at building global scale companies. So Monster, with its engine to find people for companies with global ambitions, is going to be a great ally for them. We also have the opportunity to move people from the informal to the formal sector, and that, I think, is a very important factor in India. To be able to provide guaranteed livelihoods, defined benefits, etc., is, I think, a great social impact that we can cause on society. Lastly, India's female workforce participation dropped from what was in the 30s to the mid-teens some time ago when COVID happened. Many social factors that contributed to it. With work from home being a reality today, and with the ability to balance your household responsibilities with corporate life, I think we'll be able to push that up, and Monster and with this future brand will be able to enable more people coming into the workforce. We also have a multiplier effect. For every one person that we employ, another 4 people benefit from the employment that we provide. So if we have, let's say, about 500,000 people in employment, times 4, another, let's say, 2 million people have an impact because of the employment that we provide from Quest. So all in all, we think we have a great opportunity. India, as you'd seen earlier in the evening, has, I think, its best time coming up. We will go from $3.4 trillion of GDP to almost about $5 trillion by about 2026, or maybe give or take a year, And if that is the case, the journey after that is going to be even more momentous. So through that process, Monster is going to have a big role to play, and we think that we are in the right time, we are at the right place at the right time to be able to enable this journey to happen. Thank you for your time in listening to this, and look forward to meeting you further on this evening. I just want to leave one last point with you. My email ID is not very difficult to remember. It's ai@questcorp.com. It's ai@questcorp.com. Whenever you get the time, after you use the product, and if you think there are areas that we can improve with, please feel free to write to me about it, and we will respond. We are keen to make this product a differentiated product, a market-leading application, and a breakthrough application in the market. Your response and your feedback will make it vital. Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again for Mr. Ajit Isaac, loudest round of applause, please. Implies a very popular code of trifles make perfection, perfection is no trifle. All right, on to the beginning and moving on to a new phase. Now please welcome on stage CEO Monster Asia Pacific and Middle East. Please welcome with the loudest round of applause Mr. Shekhar Karisa on stage right now. The loudest round of applause, please.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for making it here. I know it's very tough in Bangalore, traffic and slightly drizzling weather, to brave it and come all the way to here. Thank you so much. We really appreciate it. It's a tough act to follow, clearly. So I will stick to what I know best, which is the product. What can I say about a company that seemingly has been around forever? Like Ajit said, we were the 450th URL ever registered. And there are about 2 billion websites now in the world. So we've been around for so long. For the past 3 decades, Monster has been synonymous with recruitment. 70 million candidates and close to 10,000 organizations trust Monster for what is one of their most important priority, either to find the right candidate or to find the right job. If there was a country with 70 million people, it would be the 20th largest country in the world. We're truly grateful to have an opportunity to create impact at that scale. Our longevity is a result of our focus on product. We briefly mentioned it earlier in the earlier conversation. A lot of things that we take for granted in the product today, whether it's semantic search, social jobs, export to Excel, which is a lifeline for all the recruiters now, first virtual career fair, a lot of these were first introduced by Monster. And over a period of time, and as we speak now, almost every product around the world has this as features that are hygiene. Our longevity is also a result of unstinted love and support shown by all of you, our customers, as well as our candidates. You've been very patient with us, especially in the last 4 or 5 years, as the company transitioned from Randstad to Quest and as we started rebuilding the product. Over this period, since we've been around for so long, we've been able to build some very impressive scale and momentum, especially in the last couple of years, since the ownership changed from a large global organization for whom this region was merely a less than 10% business, to the current ownership and the team for whom this is all that we do, business in India, Asia Pacific, and Middle East. Like I said, we have 70 million candidates on the platform. We have candidates from over 18 countries and customers from over 25 countries buy our product currently. Over the last 6 quarters, every single quarter, we've been able to sign at least 3,000 new customer contracts. It's all because of the support that you've given us. We have something that very few platforms have. We have synergies not just with Monster Global, with whom we still maintain a very strategic relationship. We also have someone like Quest to learn from. We've got more than 2,000 recruiters at job there, and every day they're going through tens of thousands of profiles. And as we started building this product, we had the opportunity to pick the minds of all of these folks and see how we can make the new product as recruiter friendly and something that delivers incredible recruiter efficiency. Monster Global Association is an important part of our strategy because we're probably the only platform in the country which can offer candidate inventory across the globe. Whether your recruiters are serving for India, Southeast Asia, or Middle East, or Europe, or US, we're probably the only platform which can allow you inventory across. And we're going to build on this, like Ajit said, how do we build a new product such that the quality talent in India has access to every possible global job going forward? And that's something we're able to do because of this association. We had a phenomenal last couple of years. We grew 70% from FY21 to FY22. And we are well on track to grow another 70% on a larger base this year. More importantly, what gets us excited are the metrics of engagement. Last quarter, July, August, September, we had close to 50 million people visiting our portal, 10 million active users looking for jobs and opportunities just in the past month. We are now growing at a rate of 2 million registrations every quarter. That's about more than half a million people who are getting added to the platform every month. And hopefully some of you have seen the impact of these new registrations in terms of the results that you see. We've been generating about 7 million applications for our customers every quarter. Fantastic scale metrics, but what is something that's really exciting us is the momentum that we are seeing. Almost every single metric is growing double-digit quarter on quarter. So we're very happy with the way the product has evolved over the last 6 quarters. But we are more excited by what is going to be coming forward now. As we were growing over the last 6 quarters, something else was happening. The recruitment landscape itself was changing forever, right? We live in times where success or failure of an organization, to a large extent, depends on the quality of the human capital it possesses. So much so that for all of us, all business leaders, hiring the right kind of people is the #1 business priority. However, the process of recruitment itself has changed irrevocably. The expectations that the recruiters have, the expectations that the candidates have, and the way the ecosystem has developed around it has changed so much, also been accelerated by pandemic over the last couple of years. From the candidate's perspective, people are looking at many, many more variables before they make a decision on recruitment. Earlier times, people would probably just look at the brand, the salary, and probably role. But now people want to look at whether there are options for flexibility, mobility, whether it fits in with their notion of purpose. So there's so many variables that candidates want to see, so much more they want to know about the company before they make that decision. Similarly, from a recruiter perspective, all of us have been talking about moving from a profile-based hiring to a skill-based hiring. It's easier said than done. So recruiters want to be sure as we move towards skill-based hiring, how is it that we can get more and more information about candidates that is curated and validated so that we can make the right hiring decisions. Both candidates and recruiters are also saying to us that we don't want someone to offer us piecemeal service. What I mean by that is, we've been in the business of discovery. We're telling the candidates there are so many thousands of jobs available. We're telling the recruiters there are so many hundreds of thousands of candidates available. That's too large a number to start at the beginning of the funnel. What the recruiters and candidates really want is to bring efficiency in that process so that we don't throw scale at them, kind of create more noise in the process. While this is happening, there are also a lot of changes in the ecosystem. We understand that recruitment as a process, for it to be stitched end to end, there are so many players who get involved. There are people who train candidates, there are people who assess candidates, there are people who provide registration, certifications, validation of skills. There are edtechs who are training people. There are tech OEMs which are investing huge amounts of money in developing talent competencies in workforce. And it makes so much sense for a platform to put something together where each one of these players can come in and participate, so that for the eventual stakeholders, who are the candidates and recruiters, we're able to offer them a seamless recruiting solution. So all of this told us that while we're doing great on our business, there's a greater need for us to look at a product which is very, very different. That's what brings us to the next chapter in the history of Monster. What we're going to build starting today, and you're going to be seeing parts of it in the product right from today, is a transition and a transformation from being a job board to a talent platform. What's the difference? A job board primarily works on discovery. We will tell people what jobs are available, we'll tell recruiters how many candidates are available. But a talent platform does a bit more than discovery. Monster has always been about connecting right people to the right opportunities. So if you see our renewed vision statement, we added another word to it. We not only want to connect, we want to enable in this journey. And I'll talk more as I speak about the product on this. To be able to do this journey, we have put together a fantastic team of more than 700 people spread across 6 countries. And what you see now is a culmination of the efforts of all of them. As we went about building this product, we primarily based it on 4 main pillars. We are in the business of matching people and opportunities. And for any matching to happen, the first and foremost requirement is to have the right data. For the longest time, all of us, when I say all of us, the job board as an industry, relied only on what we call as user-generated content. A candidate comes and furnishes data about himself or herself in the form of a resume or a profile, and we use that data, and we faithfully give the data back to the recruiter without either processing or synthesizing that data. What we went back to the drawing board and did was, can we challenge ourselves to build the richest data about candidates available out there? Can we, in one line, deliver more information per candidate than any other platform out there? How do we do that? We take the user-generated content, which has always been available, and we supplement it with 2 things. Social-generated content, as we call it, because nobody lives in isolation these days. If somebody is a programmer or a developer, there is so much information available about them. They leave so much digital footprint, which either supplements or validates the information that they have given. We could know whether they have completed certifications, what certifications are they holding, what peer reviews that they're getting, more information about the companies that they're working in, more information about their own performance in the companies that you can draw from the. So a lot of that is information that we syndicate, which gets added to it. The third and most interesting aspect is the platform-generated content. And this is what Ajit also spoke to you guys about. If we give a resume, and all of us have hired people, the moment we see the resume, we are able to draw out, on average, 8 to 10 insights about the candidate. What is the kind of academic background the candidate has? What's the kind of organizations that the candidate has worked in? Is the candidate a job hopper? There's so many insights that we can draw. But unfortunately, over the last so many years, we've been taking that information. We sit on huge amounts of information. 70 million candidates giving their full life history to us. And we are faithfully just storing and giving it back without processing and drawing out insights from that information. And that's something that we're going to be adding up. When you see a candidate profile going forward, you not only see what the candidate has given, but the information that we have syndicated which validates or supplements to that, and equally importantly, what the platform has been able to derive as insights from this information. The second thing which we've based our product development on is personalization. We deal with large number of candidates, but at the same time, for every candidate, they come to our platform, every recruiter comes to our platform to do something that's very important to them. So we don't want to throw scale at them. We want to make sure that everyone's experience on the platform is personalized to them. What I mean by that is we have MBAs. There's an MBA from an IIM, there's an MBA from a tier 3 institute. And they have different trajectories of career experience. If somebody comes and looks for jobs for MBAs, we should not be showing the same jobs to them. So the recommendations that the candidate should get should consider their educational background, should consider the kind of companies that they have worked. Going further, look at thousands of candidates who have similar backgrounds, what kind of organizations have they gone to, and give them recommendations that are very personalized so that they have the highest probability of getting into that opportunity. Similar thing applies for recruiters as well. If I'm a recruiter from organization A and somebody is a recruiter from organization B, and we are two completely different kinds of organizations, services versus products, size, scale, etc., it is not appropriate for the platform to show the same results to them because not all of those candidates have the same probability of joining my organization. So there's a deep level of personalization that we've built both on the candidate side as well as the recruiter side, which makes the process of hiring a lot more efficient. The third one is what I said earlier about candidates and recruiters asking us to provide more services to them. There was a time earlier in the past when the candidate discovery was completely online, which is why all the job boards have been online. But the process of hiring after that has been entirely offline. Therefore, job boards used to just help in discovery and leave the process at that. But now we know that almost 67% of the recruiters said that most of their processes today are completely digital. So if that's the case, if we are at the vantage point of the beginning of the process, what more can we do? From a candidate side, how does it play out? It's no longer enough for me to say, here are, if I'm a Java developer, here are 5,000 Java developer jobs available in Bangalore. Because we have so much more information from that. I know the candidate's background. I know what kind of opportunities he's looking for, a services organization, tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 product organization. How do I use this contextual information to help the candidate have a higher chance of making into that job? Through very, very targeted interview prep, because we know what kind of organizations, what kind of roles they are looking for. Can we help them with making sure they have a great resume, which is table stakes? Can we help them with getting a mock interview done from someone who is very similar to the kind of person who is likely to interview them? I'm a Java developer with 3 years experience. I'm likely to be interviewed by an engineering manager with 7 to 8 years experience. At that point in time when I've applied for jobs, can I help that person get a mock interview done? And that other person who's likely to do the interview is also on the platform. That's the power of putting this community together. So it's about holding the hand of the candidate and say, we're not telling you that there are so many thousands of jobs available. We are telling you which are the set of jobs where you have highest probability of making it, and we also want to enable your journey to get there. Similarly, from a recruiter perspective, we're throwing numbers. We're coming in and saying, okay, we've got 200,000 Java developers in Bangalore. Somebody will come and say, we've got 300,000. Somebody has 350,000, right? But that's not enough because we're throwing scale at you instead of solving for your problem. So how do I make sure over a period of time I get to a point where I tell you, here are candidates who are pre-assessed, skill validated, and to some extent over the next couple of quarters, maybe also interviewed at the L1 level. We've launched our first assessment product. It's called Skill List. We're currently open for candidates to come and calibrate themselves on 2 roles at least, full stack developer as well as data analyst. It's about giving the recruiters a lot more information, which is something that cuts down the process of hiring from there on. And we've actually moved the needle further. I'll talk about it a little later again. The last one, interesting, while it's still getting built, but this is a direction that we want to go to. We've built a community of 70 million candidates. One of the biggest problems that job boards have is that we find it tough to engage with the audience because they use us once maybe in 18 months, 2 years. So we're trying to build a lot more use cases which keeps the community active and engaged. The mock interview example I just gave is a brilliant way of keeping the audience thinking. I could be applying, so I could be an interviewee, I could be an interviewer. There are so many such use cases specific to peer-to-peer interactions in the context of job search that we are building, which keeps the community a lot more active and engaged. And I'm sure all of you agree that has been your biggest ask of us. How do you make sure that the 70 million people that you have put together on the platform are active and engaged and available and most updated in terms of their information. So essentially, when we're looking at this product, we're saying these are the four most important things. How do we make sure we have the best data sets in the industry? Because everything else flows from there on. If we have the best information, we can run the best search algorithm, best matching algorithm. We can make sure we can personalize the experience for everyone. We can use that information to help you on the process to go from just discovery to a completion of the successful outcome. And most importantly, keep the community together with enough network effect so that every time you come back to the platform, you see a group of people who are actively engaged with the platform. That's the direction that we're going on. I'll just take a brief few minutes to bring to life what I just spoke about. And I strongly encourage each one of you to head over to our demo booth later in the day because nothing like seeing it in action there. Right? This is a normal profile that you would see in any job board. You've got a candidate, information about it, skill information, the designation, the experience, notice and a bunch of that information. Right? This is what we've all been used to seeing in a job board. Now, how does it change when we enrich the data set, right? This is how the new profile would look like, which is something which is standardized. You have the career trajectory of the person out there, and you have a lot more information here. If I can then just zoom in. I just spoke about the insights that the platform will generate. If you see, it says the person has an experience of over 11 years, if I remember right. Depending on the average length of job that the person has done at a particular company, we can take an insight of this, not a job hopper, and at least in one particular organization, the person has stayed long enough and has gotten promoted internally. It's a big thing that the recruiters look for. Has a person stayed at a place long enough to earn their stripes and move ahead in their career, right? And the other common problem that we face in the industry is I've seen a resume with 5 organizations. It's quite possible that a recruiter doesn't even know 4 of those organizations. How am I making an assessment of the candidate if I can't contextualize their career in terms of the kind of organizations that we've worked for? So a simple use case of what I meant about data enrichment, what we've done is connected the candidate database with organizational databases and pulled the information about the companies that they have worked for right here. Now you can see that this person has worked in this organization, and there's a description about what the organization does, size of the organization in terms of revenues, in terms of employee strength. If it's a startup, is it a funded startup? Right now it says a late stage Series D funded startup. So without having to go out of the platform, Google and find out what's the kind of experience someone had, on the platform itself, because of these insights and additional data that we're providing, you can find out a lot more about the candidate, and hopefully you will be able to make your decision on the candidate much faster and in a much better way. All of this doesn't mean anything if you don't give the control in the hand of the recruiter to be able to use it. So everything that I'm showing gets converted into smart filters. You can use the smart filters to see if you want to first look at people who are from premium institutes, who are not job hoppers, who have worked in an early stage startup. You know, especially we keep hearing about the challenges that startup founders face. When somebody is building an early stage fintech, they would ideally want to hire, let's say, a product manager who's worked in a Series A funded fintech. That's something that's incredibly tough to find. You have to go through a number of hoops to even find such candidates. But using these smart filters, you should be able to find. So you will be able to find candidates who've gone through specific experiences by usage of these smart filters. It's not just about finding the right people. We're also bringing in intelligence in terms of how you can engage with this audience. Today, the way we do, the conventional way all of us are familiar about, we run a search result, we have a short list, one click of a button, we send hundreds of emails, right? It goes at a time that the recruiter is doing the search. Going forward, on our platform, at whatever time of the day you perform the search, you will be able to schedule when you want to send the email. And more importantly, because we keep following outcomes of emails sent in millions, we can advise you when is the right time to send, and you can leave it to the system. Please send these emails at a time that is best suited for candidates to open these emails. And equally importantly, if you want to come back and talk to the same candidate, we'll let you automate the whole flow. Here is my first email that I want to send. Depending on the action taken by the candidate, he is the second that I want to send after 3 days, after 5 days. So it's not just about smartly finding the relevant profiles, it's also about being able to reach out to them in a way that's very efficient and smart. We have a room full of customers, so I do have to sell a bit. We spoke about full stack offerings for recruiters, and I briefly spoke about it. Traditionally, we've been in the business of pay per profile. You buy a database or you buy a job posting, like we give you access to database and you pay per profile. Over the past year, we've been experimenting with different models beyond pay per profile. One of the things that has been very, very successful, and we have got huge, very, very good referenceable customers for it, is pay per interview. And this is something that we are now in the new product completely automating. What I mean by that is, when we do a pay per profile, you run a search, you're basically checking for suitability. I have a job posting, I've got this bunch of candidates. Can I run a search to say whether the candidate is suitable to my job posting, job requirement or not? What we are doing now is, along with suitability, we have an ability to also check for two more things. Availability, whether the candidate at this point in time is looking for a job or not. And third one is interest in this specific opportunity. So there's a candidate who's suitable, who's available in terms of looking for an opportunity right now, and is also interested in this specific opportunity. And we can share that profile and say, would you like to interview the candidate? So you're fast tracking this whole process of recruiters trying to call so many candidates, understanding whether they're available or not, explaining the job profile, all of that. You have candidates who are completely curated, and you pay us only for every interview that you do. Pay per offer, again, we've got some customers where the complexity of the role is not as high. They say, okay, you can run the process through and through, and come to a point where you tell us, this is a candidate who meets all the criteria for an offer, and the organizations just do one round, final round of conversation, they give out offers. So the point I'm trying to make is, as you go through the process from identifying the discovery of profiles to an eventual offer, we now have the ability to offer you to whatever extent you want us to get involved. Many of it has been built into the product. Some of this will get built into the product over the next quarter or so. But you pick based on what your talent acquisition plan and strategy and volume is, based on your own internal resources, where is it that you want us to come and assist. That's to the extent that we are able to go, because we are able to do precision hunting of profiles to begin with, and that efficiency caters all the way down in the process. As we were doing all of this, all three of us have spoke about the need to disrupt the product, bring in new features. We felt that given our new aspiration, wider aspiration of what we want to do, we also wanted to have a new identity that is in line with what we want to do. We've been a brand with Monster for so many years. It's a great brand. Many of us have seen the brand for so many years. We are emotionally attached to it. But the product going forward is going to look, feel, and deliver very, very different experience. And from that perspective, we felt the new brand, new identity that we are going to take should reflect all of that. So with that, we come to the most exciting part of the day, where we reveal what we are going to call ourselves differently from tomorrow. And to do that, I request Ajit to come and join me on stage. Can we have the AV, please? Can we play the brand AV as well, please?
Productivity matters, not where I am. My path to success is different from yours.
Not money, it's purpose I seek. Don't tell me how to do things. Tell me what needs to be done.
Growth is non-negotiable.
If we don't like the work, then we don't like to work. Whatever it is,
That I see, I found it.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you for your time, and hopefully we'll see you all at the demo booths where we can talk more about the product later in the evening. Thank you.
Well, we just found it. Can you have a loudest round of applause? We're here for the purpose, right here, found it. All right, thank you so very much. Did you all enjoy it? Do you like the name? I need to hear the loud, yes or no? Wow, who's that? That's team. All right, a loudest round of applause for everybody there. It's found it now, the new chapter, the new beginning, and of course, the legacy will continue. Thank you so very much for joining us here. It was wonderful having you all here. Until next time, you know what to do. Found it. Thank you again.